In an alternate Earth, New Rome, controlled by hypocritical elite families, indulging in forbidden pleasures, while the rest live in poverty, stands tall. On top of a skyscraper, architect Caesar contemplates jumping, but suddenly stops time, steps back from the edge, and then resumes time, as if nothing happened. Meanwhile, Mayor Cicero fumes over radio reports of his financial woes, and his daughter Julia's scandalous photo shoot, as Julia, after a night of partying, finds her way home, blocked by Caesar's demolition team. As the explosives detonate, Caesar freezes time to admire the spectacle, but Julia, unaffected by his power, witnesses the frozen explosion before time resumes. Sometime later, Caesar, now a Nobel Prize winner for inventing the revolutionary building material megalon, becomes increasingly popular, much to the annoyance of Cicero, whose approval ratings plummet, viewing Caesar as a rival. One night, New Rome's elite gather at the demolition site for a special event, with ambitious journalist Wow covering the event. Caesar's cousin, Claudio, acts like a fool, earning a scolding from his uncle Hamilton, the National Bank director, who also worries about rumors of Claudio's inappropriate relationship with his sisters. Cicero's announcement of a cutting-edge casino is marred by Claudio's antics, and then interrupted by Caesar, the chairman of the design authority. Caesar's proposal to demolish and rebuild the city as a sustainable utopia using megalon is met with constant interruptions from Cicero, who demands realistic goals. Their argument escalates, with Caesar criticizing the system's favoritism towards the rich, prompting Cicero to retaliate by highlighting the instability and danger of megalon, and even bringing up the unresolved poisoning and disappearance of Caesar's wife, a case where Cicero was the prosecutor and still suspects Caesar's guilt. Caesar calls Cicero a slumlord, causing Cicero to lose his composure and be escorted away by security, while Julia tries to shield her father from the press. After the commotion, a fashion show takes place, and Claudio seethes with jealousy as women fawn over Caesar. Later, Caesar arrives home to find Wow waiting, confessing her love and demanding he acknowledge their relationship. But Caesar, haunted by his late wife, leaves her to watch her own flirtatious interview with Hamilton on TV. The next day, Julia visits Caesar at his office, concerned about her father's outburst. She notices signs of Caesar's declining mental state in the empty bottles and medications scattered around. Caesar, unimpressed by Julia's spoiled and aimless demeanor, expresses his preference for thoughtful company, provoking Julia to reveal her awareness of his time-stopping ability. Intrigued, Caesar shows Julia a model of his utopia, guiding her through it with closed eyes. Witnessing the vision of harmonious equality, Julia finally understands Caesar's dream and pledges her support. Later, during a parade, Julia informed Cicero of her decision to work with Caesar, earning the label of traitor from her enraged father, who becomes further infuriated when the parade is halted for Caesar to cross the street. That night, Julia delves into the unsolved case of Caesar's wife, poisoned with insulin, her car found submerged in the river, and her body mysteriously vanishing mid-investigation. Desperate for answers, Julia begins shadowing Caesar. Claudio, observing Julia's pursuit, starts photographing them both as Caesar drives to a rundown neighborhood, plagued by visions of falling statues, symbolizing injustice, and then stops to buy flowers, perplexing Julia. Caesar enters a secured building, bringing flowers to his wife's preserved body, cared for by women, but when Julia follows, she finds him alone, the scene a figment of his imagination. Touched by his enduring love, Julia departs. The next day, atop a tower, Caesar contemplates his city plans when Julia joins him, inquiring about the most crucial institution to preserve in his utopia, to which Caesar responds, marriage. Weeks pass, and Wow, now engaged to Hamilton, gives him a statue at their wedding, attended by Julia and Caesar, who notices but ignores nearby protesters holding anti-Caesar signs. Reporters press Caesar about Megalon's safety, but he remains jovial, assuring them of its stability. Pop star Vesta arrives, clad in a seemingly invisible Megalon dress with tiny cameras, adored by the public for her vow of chastity until marriage. Cicero's arrival is met with boos. In true New Roman fashion, the celebration features chariot races and gladiatorial combat. Julia, interviewed by students, learns of rumors linking her to Caesar, who spends the night in a haze of substances, signing autographs and passively accepting female attention. Julia attempts to control Caesar's behavior in vain. As clowns perform, Claudio bribes a producer to display a compromising video at the opportune moment. Vesta begins her charity-driven chastity song. Suddenly, Claudio's video, exposing Caesar and Vesta in a compromising situation, erupts on the screens, causing chaos. Bodyguards rush Vesta away as a riot ensues, and Cicero's attempts to speak are drowned out while guards struggle to restore order. Anti-Cicero signs appear on stage. Meanwhile, Caesar attempts to escape through a back door, but gets punched, stumbling into a brawl fueled by his hallucinations. Weakened by the substances he consumed, he's icily knocked down. Julia finds him and whisks him away in his car, only to be stopped by the police. Due to Vesta being underage, Caesar is arrested. In his cell, Caesar tries to stop time, but his power is gone. That night, Julia and a friend scour city archives, uncovering documents that expose Vesta's lies about her age and birthplace. The next day, Julia confronts her father with Vesta's birth certificate, hoping to clear Caesar's name. However, Cicero destroys it, claiming Caesar is morally guilty, even if legally innocent. Frustrated, Julia vows to obtain another copy. At Hamilton's house, Julia is intercepted by Wow, who threatens her, asserting her claim on both Hamilton and Caesar. Meanwhile, Claudio, vying for Hamilton's inheritance, visits him, unaware that Hamilton suspects his involvement in the video scandal. News breaks about Vesta's true age and forensic evidence, proving the video's fabrication. After Caesar's release, Julia visits him atop his tower. Caesar, despondent over losing his power, confesses his guilt-ridden mental state, not for killing his wife, but for failing to protect her. As Julia comforts him, their hands touch, and his time-stopping ability returns. They share a kiss, embarking on a new relationship. Weeks later, Caesar attempts to introduce Julia to his senile mother, who remains oblivious. In private, the couple playfully explores the effects of frozen time. Meanwhile, resentment towards Caesar grows among the lower class due to his demolitions for the Utopia project. Claudio, eager to sabotage his cousin, joins the protests, fueling the unrest. Cicero, informed of Claudio's actions, tasks his assistant with managing the situation. Disaster strikes as a Soviet satellite hurtles towards New Rome, leaving the city helpless to avert its devastating impact. The crash decimates much of New Rome. The tragedy grants Caesar the opportunity to rebuild unimpeded. He immerses himself in his work, manipulating time to glimpse the future and perfect his utopia design. After days of relentless work, Julia breaks through Caesar's trance with the news of her pregnancy. Overjoyed, Caesar proposes marriage, but Julia declines, believing his conscience, still bound to his deceased wife, would prevent his true happiness. Later, at their newly built home, Caesar and Cicero engage in a heated argument during a card game, prompting Julia to scold them. She then reveals her pregnancy, delighting her mother. But Cicero, upset, departs in silence, leaving Julia heartbroken and convinced of his hatred. Meanwhile, Claudio, now the leader of the impoverished, incites protests and riots against Caesar and his utopia, unchecked due to the death of Cicero's assigned handler in the satellite crash. Days later, Cicero visits Caesar, urging him to end his relationship with Julia in exchange for a signed confession. Admitting his knowledge of Caesar's wife's suicide and his malicious prosecution of Caesar, despite promises of public support, Caesar refuses. Caesar then meets with Wow, who offers to steal Hamilton's bank and give it to him in return for their reunion. Caesar rejects this offer as well, prompting a vengeful Wow to freeze all his accounts. News channels debate Megalon's safety and tarnish Caesar's image. One night, a child approaches Caesar for an autograph, then shoots him in the head. Caesar's mind descends into a hallucinatory loop. Julia rushes him to the hospital, where doctors consider reconstructing his skull with Megalon. The shooter is revealed to be connected to Claudio, who is furious that the incident has transformed Caesar into a martyr. Caesar's surgery is successful, but his recovery will be slow. During his painful hallucinations, he reveals to Julia the truth about his wife's death. She had witnessed something that sparked jealousy, leading to her suicide. The poisoning was a fabrication by Cicero, who also concealed her pregnancy. Caesar had witnessed his wife's fatal jump, and subsequently discovered the principles of Megalon, while trying to save her. As soon as he can walk again, Caesar confronts Wow about his frozen accounts. Wow attempts to threaten him, but Caesar removes his bandages, revealing the Megalon integrated into his left eye. Wow, awestruck, begs for reconciliation, valuing his love over material wealth. Hamilton arrives, shocked by the frozen accounts, and promises to rectify the mistake. Later, Wow and Claudio engage in intimacy. Claudio attributes the flickering lights to Caesar's systems consuming power. Wow reveals Hamilton's prenuptial agreement, preventing her from acquiring the bank, and proposes a takeover with Claudio. Wow gives Claudio a haircut to improve his appearance. At their next meeting, Hamilton praises Claudio's newfound maturity. Claudio seizes the opportunity, requesting to be interim CEO to assist the family business. Hamilton readily agrees, unknowingly signing a contract that grants Claudio full control. Betrayed, Hamilton suffers a heart attack. Months later, after the birth of their child, Caesar and Julia, quietly married during Saturnalia, New Rome's equivalent of Christmas. Clodio and Wow, their partnership solidified, orchestrate Hamilton's removal from the bank. Clodio then rallies the rebels, igniting a massive riot that engulfs the streets in flames. The police overwhelmed, Cicero delivers a speech denouncing the chaos before escaping with his family into the subway. Even while holding his granddaughter, Cicero continues his tirade against Caesar, but ultimately, prioritizing the child's future, pledges his support. That night, Clodio and Wow visit a bedridden Hamilton, who feigns excitement while concealing a bow and arrow beneath the sheets. He fatally shoots Wow and wounds Clodio as he flees. Hamilton bequeaths his entire fortune to Caesar's city project. Meanwhile, Caesar addresses the public, outlining his vision of a classless megalopolis utopia. He emphasizes the potential for growth and contribution from all individuals, regardless of their origins. The crowd, moved by his words, recognizes Clodio's deception. Clodio and his henchmen are swiftly apprehended and hanged by the vengeful mob. By New Year's Eve, the Megalopolis project stands complete. Caesar, Julia, and their baby join Cicero and his wife for the celebratory parade. Amidst the festivities, Caesar is surprised to see his mother in the crowd. As the new year arrives, Caesar and Julia's kiss freezes time, but their daughter remains unaffected.